Hogan's Heroes made audiences laugh in the most unlikely place. A prison camp filled with clever tricks, secret missions, and unforgettable characters. But behind the comedy were actors with real hardships, quiet struggles, and final chapters far more serious than the laughs they gave us. Today, we honor beloved Hogan's Heroes actors who have sadly passed away and look back at the lives they left behind. Bob Caine, born on July 13, 1928, became the clever face of Hogan's Heroes at 37 years old as Colonel Robert Hogan, the American officer secretly running sabotage missions from inside a German POW camp. Cool, charming, and always one step ahead, Hogan turned danger into strategy and comedy. He was not the loudest man in the barracks, but his confidence made the prisoners believe every impossible plan might actually work. Before the series, Bob Caine was already known in radio and television, especially from The Donna Reed Show. After Hogan's Heroes, however, his career became harder to sustain, and his private life drew more attention than his later acting work. Bob Caine passed away on June 29, 1978, at the age of 49. His death was the result of a brutal murder in Arizona, a shocking and unresolved tragedy that forever changed how many fans looked back on his story. Colonel Hogan remains one of classic TV's most unusual heroes. Bob Caine gave him charm, timing, and fearless confidence, leaving behind a role that still feels bright even though his real-life ending was deeply dark. Richard Dawson, born on November 20, 1932, brought smooth British wit to Hogan's Heroes at 32 years old, as Corporal Peter Newkirk, the clever con man and master of disguise inside Hogan's team. Sharp, playful, and always ready with a trick, Newkirk added style to the prisoner's secret operations. Whether picking locks, wearing a disguise, or talking his way out of danger, he gave the show a mischievous energy that fans loved. After leaving the camp behind, Richard Dawson became even more famous as a television personality. He was a regular on Match Game and later became the original host of Family Feud, where his charm made him one of America's most recognizable game show faces. Richard Dawson passed away on June 2, 2012, at the age of 79 after battling esophageal cancer. His death closed a career that moved from sitcom comedy to daytime television history. Newkirk remains memorable because Dawson played him with quick intelligence and a wink of danger. He made espionage feel funny, elegant, and effortless, giving Hogan's crew one of its most entertaining sparks. Larry Hovis, born on February 20, 1936, joined Hogan's Heroes at 29 years old as Sergeant Andrew Carter, the explosives expert with a sweet, slightly nervous kind of innocence. Gentle, eager, and funny without trying too hard, Carter gave Hogan's team its most boyish charm. He could handle dangerous devices, but Larry played him with such wide-eyed sincerity that even sabotage felt strangely wholesome. Beyond Stalag 13, Larry worked as an actor, singer, writer, and producer. He appeared on stage and television, wrote for comedy programs, and later became a college professor, teaching drama at Texas State University. Larry Hovis passed away on September 9, 2003, at the age of 67 after battling esophageal cancer. His later years were shaped less by Hollywood fame and more by teaching, performance, and sharing his craft with students. Carter remains lovable because Larry made him more than the team's comic helper. He gave the role warmth, timing, and a kind of innocent bravery that helped balance the danger hiding underneath the show's jokes. Leon Askin, born on September 18, 1907, brought booming comic authority to Hogan's Heroes at 58 years old as General Burkhalter, the loud German officer constantly threatening Colonel Klink. Blustery, impatient, and wonderfully over-the-top, Burkhalter made military authority look ridiculous. His heavy voice, sharp temper, and constant frustration helped turn Stalag 13 into a place where the powerful often looked more foolish than the prisoners. Leon Askin's life before television was extraordinary. Born in Vienna, he fled Nazi persecution, served in the U.S. Army during World War II, and later built a career across stage, film, and television in Europe and America. Leon Askin passed away on June 3, 2005, at the age of 97. His long life carried him through exile, war, theater, Hollywood, and decades of performance history. Burkhalter remains funny because Askin played him with thunder, but also rhythm. he turned intimidation into comedy, making every visit to Klink's office feel louder, sharper, and more absurd. Ivan Dixon, born on April 6, 1931, brought quiet intelligence to Hogan's heroes at 34 years old, as Staff Sergeant James Kinchloe, the radio expert who kept Hogan's secret operations connected. Calm, skilled, and deeply dependable, Kinch was the kind of character who made the impossible plans believable. He was not written for big comic explosions, but his steady presence gave the team discipline, focus, and technical strength. Ivan Dixon's career reached far beyond acting. He starred in Nothing But a Man, earned acclaim for serious dramatic work, and later became a respected television director, working on shows like The Waltons, The Rockford Files, and Magnum. P.I. Ivan Dixon passed away on March 16, 2008, at the age of 76 after complications from kidney failure. His death closed the life of an artist who had worked both in front of the camera and behind it with quiet power. Kinchloe remains important because Dixon gave him dignity and calm authority. In a comedy built on deception and danger, he made Hogan's team feel smart, capable, and complete. Bernard Fox, born on May 11, 1927, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at 38 years old as Colonel Crittenden, the British officer whose confidence was often much bigger than his competence. Proud, formal, and hilariously out of step with reality, Crittenden worked because he thought like a textbook soldier in a show built on tricks and improvisation. His appearances gave Hogan another kind of problem. Not an enemy, but an ally who could ruin everything by being too proper. Beyond Stalag 13, Bernard Fox built a long career as a British character actor in American television and film. Viewers also knew him from Bewitched, The Andy Griffith Show, Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, and later as Colonel Archibald Gracie in Titanic. Bernard Fox passed away on December 14, 2016, at the age of 89 after heart failure. His career left behind decades of comic timing, gentlemanly charm, and memorable supporting roles. Colonel Crittenden remains funny because Fox made foolishness feel polished. He turned military dignity into comedy, giving the series a perfect example of how confidence without common sense could be its own kind of chaos. Arlene Martel, born on April 14, 1936, brought mystery and danger to Hogan's Heroes at 29 years old as Tiger, the glamorous underground contact who worked with Hogan's network. Cool, brave, and wrapped in wartime secrecy, Tiger added a sharper spy thriller flavor to the comedy. She was not just there for romance or beauty, she represented the resistance world outside the camp, where every message and meeting could carry real risk. Arlene Martel became a familiar face across classic television, with appearances on Star Trek, The Twilight Zone, The Man from UNC-LL, and many other shows. Sci-fi fans especially remember her as T'Pring, Spock's intended bride in the original Star Trek. Arlene Martel passed away on August 12, 2014, at the age of 78 after a heart attack. Her death closed a career that moved easily through comedy, drama, science fiction, and spy stories. Tiger remains memorable because Martel gave her elegance with steel underneath. In a show full of disguises and double meanings, she made the outside resistance feel stylish, dangerous, and real. John Hoyt, born on October 5, 1905, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at 60 years old as General Brunner, one of the stern military figures who passed through the world of Stalag 13. Severe, polished, and carrying old-world authority, Brunner fit the kind of officer the show loved to make uncomfortable. His seriousness gave the comedy something to push against, especially when Hogan's tricks exposed how fragile that authority could be. John Hoyt had a remarkable career across theater, film, and television. He appeared in When Worlds Collide, Blackboard Jungle, Spartacus, and the original Star Trek pilot, building a reputation as a precise and intelligent character actor. John Hoyt passed away on September 15, 1991, at the age of 85 after a long career in American entertainment. His work stretched across genres, from serious drama to science fiction and sitcom comedy. General Brunner may be a smaller role, but Hoyt gave him weight and discipline. His presence helped make the show's comic victories feel sharper, because the authority being fooled still seemed real. Buck Young, born on April 12, 1920, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at 45 years old, as a diner in a hotel, one of the small background roles inside the show's wartime comedy world. Brief, ordinary, and easy to miss on a first watch. His role belonged to the kind of small television part that helped scenes feel populated. Even when a character had only a few moments, the right actor could make the setting feel more real. Buck Young built a long career as a dependable character actor in American television. He appeared in shows such as Gomer Pyle, USMC, The Rockford Files, MASH, Dallas, and later became familiar to soap fans through recurring work. Buck Young passed away on February 9, 2000, at the age of 80. His career was not built on one famous leading role, but on decades of steady appearances that supported some of television's most familiar worlds. His brief appearance in Hogan's Heroes remains a small piece of a much larger working actor's story. Buck Young represents the performers who filled classic TV with faces that made every scene feel lived in. Robert Clary, born on March 1, 1926, brought warmth and quick comic spirit to Hogan's Heroes at 39 years old as Corporal Louis Lebeau, the French prisoner with a chef's touch and a brave heart. Small, fiery, and full of personality, Lebeau gave the barracks a burst of French pride. He could cook, complain, flirt, and fight for the mission, making him one of Hogan's most lovable and distinctive men. Robert Clary's real life gave the role a powerful history. A Holocaust survivor, he endured Nazi concentration camps before rebuilding his life as a singer, actor, author, and later a speaker who educated audiences about survival and memory. Robert Clary passed away on November 16, 2022, at the age of 96. His death marked the loss of the last surviving main cast member, and a man whose life carried both entertainment history and living witness. Lebeau remains beloved because Clary gave him joy without erasing pain. Behind the comedy was a performer who had survived the darkest chapter of history and still chose to bring laughter to millions. Sigrid Valdis, born on September 21, 1935, joined Hogan's Heroes at 30 years old as Hilda, Colonel Klink's secretary and one of the familiar faces inside Stalag 13. Pretty, poised, and lightly comic, Hilda gave Klink's office a different rhythm. She was not running the camp, but her reactions, timing, and quiet presence helped make the Commandant's world feel more complete. Beyond the series, Sigrid Valdis appeared in films and television, including Our Man Flint and The Wild Wild West. Her Hollywood career remained relatively brief, and her life became closely tied to Hogan's Heroes after she married Bob Crane. Sigrid Valdis passed away on October 14, 2007, at the age of 72 after battling lung cancer. Her later years were much quieter than her television fame, shaped by family and memories of the show's lasting popularity. Hilda remains part of the series' visual memory because Valdis gave her elegance and gentle humor. In a comedy filled with loud personalities, she added a softer presence inside Klink's chaotic office. Walter Janowitz, born on July 18, 1913, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at 52 years old as Oscar Schnitzer, the dog handler often connected to the camp's search dogs. Gruff, practical, and carrying a very specific kind of old-world comic texture, Schnitzer gave the camp another memorable side presence. He was not one of the central villains, but his role helped make Stalag 13 feel busier, stranger, and full of little recurring personalities. Walter Janowitz had a long life in performance that reached beyond one sitcom. Born in Austria, he worked across stage, film, and television, appearing in projects such as Serpico, The Taking of Pelham 123, and several classic TV shows. Walter Janowitz passed away on May 27, 1997, at the age of 84. His career reflected the journey of many European-born actors who found steady work in American theater and screen roles. Oscar Schnitzer remains a small but colorful part of the show's world. Janowitz gave him enough flavor to make viewers remember him, proving that even a dog handler at Stalag 13 could leave a comic footprint. Edward Knight, born on July 10, 1927, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at 38 years old as Gestapo Major Metzger, one of the more threatening officers to enter Hogan's dangerous game. Cold, suspicious, and sharper than the usual comic fool, Major Metzger brought a harder edge to the show's enemy side. Characters like him reminded viewers that beneath the jokes and disguises, Hogan's operations were supposed to be risky. Edward Knight worked as a character actor across television and film, often appearing in supporting roles that needed authority, tension, or a serious dramatic tone. His career was quieter than the main casts, but it belonged to the hard-working world of classic TV performers. Edward Knight passed away on October 10, 2009, at the age of 82. His later years stayed far from the spotlight, but his performances remained part of the many guest roles that helped shape familiar television worlds. Major Metzger stands out because he gave the comedy a sharper threat. Edward Knight's serious presence made Hogan's tricks feel more dangerous, adding tension to a show that balanced spy adventure with sitcom rhythm. Kenneth Washington, born on October 19, 1946, joined the final season of Hogan's Heroes at 22 years old as Sergeant Richard Baker, the radio operator who replaced Kin Chloe in Hogan's team. Young, focused, and quietly capable, Baker stepped into a difficult space. Replacing a familiar character is never easy, but his calm presence helped keep the underground operation believable as the series moved through its last chapter. After the series, Kenneth Washington continued acting in television, with appearances in shows such as Adam 12, Ironside, and The Rockford Files. His screen career was not as long or widely known as some castmates, but his place in the main barracks lineup remains important. Kenneth Washington passed away on July 18, 2025, at the age of 78. His death made him one of the later losses connected to the original cast, reminding fans how much time has passed since Stalag 13 first appeared on television. Baker remains meaningful because he represents the show's final stretch. Kenneth Washington brought quiet professionalism to the role, helping Hogan's team stay connected, clever, and mission-ready until the end. John Cedar, born on January 22, 1931, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at 34 years old as Corporal Langenscheidt, one of the German guards moving through the comic machinery of Stalag 13. Nervous, obedient, and often caught in the confusion around Klink and Schultz, Langenscheidt helped make the camp feel full of lower-ranking soldiers who were never quite in control. His role added another layer of comic disorder to Hogan's carefully hidden operations. John Cedar built a varied career as an actor, writer, producer, and director. He appeared in television and film projects such as The Manitou, Capricorn One, Chips, and many guest roles, often playing officials, officers, and grounded supporting characters. John Cedar passed away on April 14, 2011, at the age of 80 after battling leukemia. His death closed the life of a steady working performer whose career stretched across several sides of Hollywood. Langenscheidt may be a smaller name in the series, but Cedar gave him the right touch of confusion and duty. He helped make Stalag 13 feel like a place where even the guards were trapped inside Hogan's joke. John Stevenson, born on August 9, 1923, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at 42 years old as Decker, one of the supporting officers inside the show's wartime comedy world. Polished, controlled, and instantly authoritative, Decker belonged to the kind of role Stevenson could make believable with only a few lines. His calm seriousness gave Hogan's schemes another official-looking obstacle to slip around. Outside Stalag 13, John Stevenson became one of television's most familiar voices. He worked extensively in animation, lending his voice to the Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, Johnny Quest, and many Hanna-Barbera classics across decades. John Stevenson passed away on May 15, 2015, at the age of 91, after a long life in performance. His face may not be as instantly known as his voice, but generations heard him without always knowing his name. Decker remains a small part of his screen legacy, while his voice work became the larger story. Stevenson helped shape the sound of American animation, proving that a performer could become unforgettable even from behind the microphone. Werner Klemperer, born on March 22, 1920, became one of classic sitcom television's most recognizable commandants at 45 years old as Colonel Wilhelm Klink. Stiff, vain, insecure, and hilariously easy to outsmart, Klink was the perfect comic authority figure. He wanted respect, medals, and approval, but Hogan's team constantly turned his pride into the camp's biggest weakness. Werner's real life made the role especially striking. Born in Germany to a Jewish family, he fled the Nazis and later served in the U.S. Army during World War II. He agreed to play Klink only if the character was always shown as foolish and never heroic. Werner Klemperer passed away on December 6, 2000, at the age of 80 after battling cancer. His death marked the loss of a performer who had turned painful history into sharply controlled comedy. Colonel Klink remains unforgettable, because Klemperer gave him perfect comic precision. He made arrogance ridiculous, authority fragile, and every Hogan sound like another defeat waiting to happen. Nita Talbot, born on August 8, 1930, brought seductive spy energy to Hogan's heroes at 36 years old, as Mariah, the Russian agent who could turn charm into a weapon. Glamorous, clever, and always playing her own game, Mariah added a sharper kind of danger to the comedy. She was not simply a love interest or guest character. She was a wild card who could flirt, deceive, and outmaneuver almost anyone in the room. Nita Talbot built a long career across film, television, and stage, with appearances in The Thin Man, Soap, General Hospital, and many classic guest roles. Her work as Mariah even earned her an Emmy nomination, making the role one of her most celebrated performances. Now 94, Nita Talbot has lived far from the regular Hollywood spotlight for many years. Even so, classic TV fans still remember her for the confidence, wit, and old-school glamour she brought to every appearance. Mariah remains unforgettable, because Talbot made her feel dangerous and fun at the same time. In a show built on secrets and disguises, she was one of the few outsiders who seemed capable of playing the game as well as Hogan. Victoria Carroll, born on January 21, 1941, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at 24 years old as an actress playing a nurse, one of the smaller comic roles inside the show's world of disguises and deception. Brief, playful, and tied to the show's love of performance within performance, the role fit the series perfectly. In Stalag 13, almost everyone was pretending to be someone else, and even a small nurse appearance could become part of the larger trick. Victoria Carroll built a varied career as an actress, comedian, singer, and dancer. She appeared on television, in films, and in nightclub-style comedy, while later becoming familiar to animation fans through voice work connected to Disney projects. Today, Victoria Carroll is 85 and remains part of the long memory of classic television and entertainment variety. Her career reflects the kind of versatile performer who could move between comedy, music, acting, and voice work without being limited to one lane. Her nurse role may be small, but it belongs to the playful machinery that made Hogan's Heroes work. Victoria Carroll helped add one more layer to a comedy where acting, disguises, and timing were always part of the mission. Ruta Lee, born on May 30, 1935, brought bright star presence to Hogan's Heroes at 32 years old as Dr. Suzette Lachey, one of the memorable guest characters to cross paths with Hogan's crew. Polished, charming, and full of confident energy, Dr. Lachey gave the episode a different kind of sparkle. She belonged to that classic television world where a guest star could arrive, lift the pace, and leave viewers remembering the role long after the plot moved on. Beyond Stalag 13, Ruta Lee built a remarkable career in film, television, stage, and variety entertainment. She appeared in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, worked with major Hollywood names, and became known for decades of charity work, especially with the Thalians. Now 91, Ruta Lee remains one of the enduring personalities from classic Hollywood and television. Her public life has continued through appearances, interviews, philanthropy, and the affection of fans who remember her from many different eras. Dr. Suzette Lachey remains a small but stylish part of the series. Ruta Lee brought elegance, humor, and old-school show business sparkle, the kind of guest performance that made classic sitcom television feel lively and unpredictable. Marlon Mason, born on August 7, 1940, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at 27 years old as Lily Frankel, a guest character whose story brought a different emotional color into the series. Soft, vulnerable, and caught inside the dangers of wartime Europe, Lily gave the comedy a more human edge. Her presence reminded viewers that behind Hogan's tricks and disguises, the world outside the camp still carried fear, uncertainty, and real personal stakes. Marlon Mason's wider career reached across film, television, theater, writing, and directing. She appeared opposite Elvis Presley in The Trouble with Girls, worked steadily in TV dramas and comedies, and later became known for independent creative projects. Today, Marlon Mason is 86 and remains remembered as a versatile performer with a long, varied career. Her path moved far beyond guest roles, showing a performer comfortable with acting, writing, directing, and storytelling in many forms. Lily Frankel stands out because her role touched a more serious side of the show's world. Marlon Mason gave her sincerity and emotional weight, helping the episode feel less like a simple mission and more like a life being protected. Inger Stratton, born on January 12, 1937, appeared in Hogan's Heroes at around 32 years old as Fräulein Ziegler, a German civilian connected to one of the show's clever wartime schemes. Polite, watchful, and shaped by the uneasy world outside Stalag 13, Fräulein Ziegler gave the episode a more civilian texture. She was not a guard or a prisoner, which helped widen the story beyond the camp and into the society surrounding it. Inger Stratton's screen career was modest, but part of the rich fabric of classic television. She appeared in guest roles during an era when small parts could still help build the rhythm, tension, and comic movement of a weekly sitcom. As of now, Inger Stratton would be 89 years old, though her later life has remained largely outside public attention. Because detailed public information about her career and personal life is limited, it is best to keep her profile careful and respectful. Fräulein Ziegler remains a small but useful piece of the Hogan's Heroes world. Characters like hers helped make the comedy feel broader, showing that Hogan's missions reached beyond the barracks and into everyday wartime life. John Banner, born on January 28, 1910, became one of the most beloved faces of Hogan's Heroes at 55 years old as Sergeant Schultz, the German guard famous for pretending not to see anything. Big, nervous, hungry, and wonderfully helpless in the face of Hogan's schemes, Schultz turned cowardice into comedy. He was technically one of the guards, but John played him with such warmth that audiences saw him less as a threat and more as a comic survivor trying to avoid trouble. Banner's real life made the role deeply complicated. Born in Austria to a Jewish family, he fled Europe during the Nazi era, later serving with the US military and building a career in American film and television. That history gave his comedy an unexpected layer of resilience. John Banner passed away on January 28, 1973, on his 63rd birthday. His death was caused by an abdominal hemorrhage, ending the life of a performer who had turned personal history into one of television's strangest and most enduring comic roles. Schultz remains unforgettable because Banner gave him fear, sweetness, and perfect timing. His famous "I know nothing" became more than a catchphrase. It became the sound of a character fans still quote decades later. Cynthia Lynn, born on April 2, 1936, brought poised secretary charm to Hogan's Heroes at 34 years old as Helga, Colonel Klink's first secretary at Stalag 13. Elegant, observant, and lightly playful, Helga added a softer counterpoint to Klink's stiff military world. She was not one of Hogan's men, but her presence helped make the commandant's office feel more human, more stylish, and often more quietly amusing. Born in Latvia, Cynthia Lynn lived through wartime Europe before finding her way to Hollywood. Her acting career included television guest roles, but Helga became her best-known part, tying her forever to one of classic TV's most recognizable sitcom settings. Cynthia Lynn passed away on March 10, 2014, at the age of 76 after battling hepatitis. Her later years were quieter, but fans continued to remember the grace and charm she brought to the early seasons. Helga remains part of the show's classic image because Cynthia gave the role elegance without overplaying it. In a series filled with big comic personalities, she offered a polished presence that helped make Stalag 13 feel complete. Though these beloved Hogan's Heroes actors are no longer with us, their laughter, courage, and unforgettable performances still live on. Which story touched you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch the next video.